to mug you. What? What if your government tries to throw you in a can? What? You're gonna want a shotgun. Oh. What? An automatic rifle. And a lot of ammo. Gun?
We're all set to riot. Buy a gun. Before you lose your Second Amendment. Buy a gun. They'll burn you out like a Waco. They'll stick your ass in a camp. 10-footed cops in riot gear. Gonna kick your ass and laugh. The revolution is on its way. Better lock and load your AK. Buy a gun, 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 buy a gun. Before you wish you bought a gun. Buy a gun, 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 buy a gun. Before you wish you bought a gun. We're all set to riot. Buy a gun. Before you lose your Second Amendment. Buy a gun. They gave your money to the banksters. They stole your pension fund. It's time that we took to the streets. It's time we had our turn. A revolution is on its way, and the founding fathers would say, buy a gun, 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 buy a gun. Before you wish you bought a gun. Buy a gun, 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 buy a gun. Before you wish you bought a gun. Revolution's not clean and neat, you gotta riot in the streets. Revolution's not clean and neat, you gotta drag them through the streets.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's primer time. My name is Michael.
And I'm Nick. Michael, what's going on?
Hey, welcome to UCY.TV, folks. Nick, what's going on with you, man?
Just enjoying the onset of the cold winter weather that's starting to show up. We've got white stuff on the mountains, and I don't think it's cocaine.
No, it's a tad cold here too, but we don't have any of that. And for me, cold is 55, 60. So I'm not in danger of snow. I believe snow is a warning from the Almighty that is missed by many people.
Yeah. When the water starts to get really still and hard, it's time to stay indoors most of the day.
Yeah. I'm not a large fan of that. So I think we should hit some news right off. Remington had themselves a recall. Well, not actually a recall. They're doing a product upgrade.
Well, they're actually doing they're doing the product recall, and they're doing the upgrade. So the recall that you're talking about is the 887 shotgun.
That's true. The 887 shotgun. Which, Nick, can you describe the 887 shotgun for us?
So you're looking at it's a model that was manufactured between December 1st, 2013, and November 24th, 2014. Basically, Remington is coming out saying that if you've got one of those models, you should cease using it immediately and have it sent back to Remington to be repaired. The possible defect is basically causing the firing pin to bind in the forward position, and that could cause a unintentional discharge. So not to be confused with a negligent discharge, a unintentional discharge due to mechanical failure.
That is pretty significant on a American shotgun, and American shotguns are world renowned for their liability, and this is a black mark. Yeah,
certainly. The good thing is that, after much prompting, Remington is trying to get this out to the greater public. They're making information available online, by telephone also. And you can go ahead and visit their website, and it's actually pretty simple. I'll throw it up there. It's 887recall.remington.com. It's pretty easy.
That's a pretty snazzy website name.
Yeah. So, it's got a lot of information. Yeah, it's got a lot of information out there. They say about 4 or 5 times, stop using your shotgun immediately. So when the manufacturer tells you to do that, probably a good idea to follow what they say.
Yeah, they seem to be fairly certain about it. I would say that, and they're the people to trust because they seem to have a history of that. So now let's get to the other Remington issue right now, which
Okay.
is the 700 series.
Yeah, 700 series with the triggers.
Now let's talk about the 700 series for a minute. The 700 series is, well, one of the most beloved rifles in the United States.
Yeah, probably
And,
the most popular rifle in bolt action series.
I would dare say so easily. It's the 700 series is not just the 700; it also is the 710, the 721. I mean, there's a myriad of rifles in the 700 series. Is there not?
Right. There are many different models, many different configurations, and one of the things that I think a lot of people kind of may or may not have played into this a little bit on their own is that people do a lot of trigger jobs because they weren't really satisfied with the way that the triggers operated on the 700 series. So that was one of the first things that I think a lot of people actually go in and get done. There's actually a class action lawsuit that this whole thing stems from, and to give you an idea, these are the models that are affected. It covered more than a dozen, and specifically, it's the Model 700, the Model 7, the Sportsman, the Model 78, 673, 710, 715, 770, 600, 660, XP100, 721, 722, and 725. So as you can tell, that's quite a few models, and the good thing is that apparently this goes back. The recall is going to cover rifles that have been manufactured since the late 50s.
Dear sweet almighty,
you're talking in the millions of rifles that need a potential fix.
I saw a gun blog that had come up with a conservative estimate that this will cost Remington and Remington Freedom Group, which is the parent company of Remington, and we can get into that in a couple of minutes. It's going to cost them potentially $25 million.
Yeah. So.
And the owner has the option to either take the trigger upgrade with the labor done at a Remington authorized repair center. So I just have a feeling they are going to ship out gangs of triggers to Remington authorized service centers and basically every gun shop in every county, I would guess.
Yeah,
and satisfy.
For those who might remember, the 60 Minutes conglomerate did a story back on the Remington 700 series trigger malfunctions. Mike Wallace was the interviewer back then, and most people are like, "Oh, it's a hack job." They did Remington wrong, and now this is coming from the class action suit where it's actually got some traction, and I think the original part that the designer was saying, "Hey, we could fix this right now," was like a 57-cent change. That's right. That's all it was taken.
57% deviation from his original trigger design, and I do believe that this upgrade is going to be his original trigger design.
Right.
And $25 million later, and that's not the only of Remington's recent failures. Remington had a highly touted pistol in the firearms world, a new revolutionary design, going to be the end-all, be-all of small pistols, and basically good for everybody. The new American pistol is what it was being billed as, the R51. And to my recollection, it was probably on the cover of 5 or 6 different gun magazines within the span of 2 months prior to its release and upon its release. Right. And it was touted as the next coming of this flying spaghetti monster.
Yeah.
It was the bee's knees, so to speak. And I believe that pistol had 3-month production run, and then every one of them was recalled.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, you when you look at it, a lot of these companies are ending up having to make amends for something that at the beginning of their production run they could have ceased production, made a fix, change their production, process, and not had to worry about it. But this is just a testament to every accountant who values quality over, or values quantity over quality, and it just came back to bite them.
And so, in that vein, let's take a look at who the parent company of Remington is. It's a company called Freedom Group, and under Freedom Group, which is part of Cerberus Capital, who by at one time was owner of Dodge Chrysler, I believe. Cerberus is the parent company of Freedom Group. But Freedom Group is the nation's largest firearms and sporting manufacturer.
Yeah, just to kind of give our audience an idea of all the companies that fall under the Freedom Group, you're talking about Barnes, you're talking about Advanced Armament Corp. A lot of these. All
right, so Barnes makes bullets.
Right. You got Bushmaster, Marlin, H&R.
Bushmaster. What does Bushmaster make? They make the evil black rifle.
They do.
Marlin is a venerated American name. That's a name that goes back. Everybody's grandpa had a Marlin.
Right. And like I said, you've got DPMS, which also makes the evil black rifles, and of course Remington.
There's a few more on there. I believe Para Ordnance is on there, what are they? They're Para Inc. now is on there.
Yeah. So right now, Para USA, Remington, Advanced Armament Corp, DPMS Panther, Bushmaster, Remington between the military branch, law enforcement, Marlin, H&R, and Dakota Arms. So that's basically who you're looking at. You're looking anywhere from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You're looking at about 14 different companies that fall up underneath Freedom Group.
So 14 different companies. Dakota Arms, those are some expensive rifles.
Yeah.
Those are expensive rifles. Now, I can't say that I've had any experience with it, but a good friend of mine, Timmy, bought a rifle, and it was a Marlin, and I do believe it was after the Remington Freedom Group acquisition, and he had problems with it.
Yeah.
And not real happy with it. He ended up with a Henry instead. He bought one of the models that's well known as the Marlin Model 60.
Right.
And that had an issue. So, the quality has suffered in the name of the almighty dollar, it looks like.
Yeah, and that's one of the things is that a lot of these companies that profess to be in the business of crafting firearms for American soldiers, which is what Remington Military does, for them to have some weapon systems affected with this is, probably negligible due to the fact that the military will go ahead and rework everything for the special operations community that does use those products, and those are done by master gunsmiths. That's probably where the least of the impact is going to fall. The bulk of the impact is going to fall on the individual consumer, the individual shooter. So yeah, you're gonna if you ever needed work from your local gunsmith, I would recommend you get in there yesterday.
Absolutely, I have a feeling that Remington stock is going to drop, and then what happens to Freedom Group is Remington's the star of their portfolio.
Well, yeah, I mean, you look at it one way. If things go bad enough, they could liquidate out just that one brand. You've seen it happen in every other corporation that ends up getting liquidated for one reason or another. And a lot of people still buy the DPMS brand for AR-15s. Bushmaster had massive sales for Black Friday going on at Brownells and some of the other online vendors. So those are making money. Like I said, it's not going to be the kind of money that it takes to do the long-term fix on these Remington trigger faults. But I don't see it so much as a big problem. I think that when people talk about Remington, there's a certain brand loyalty there. It's well known in the United States, and I think
brand
they can overcome this.
By the recall of, what did you say it was, 26 different
12 different series rifles.
12 different models of rifles, and an American shotgun.
Yeah.
And
a pistol.
Yeah. That can harm brand loyalty in a hurry, as well.
It can and it can't, because I've seen quite a few people talking about it and stating that their model has zero problems right now. Why fix something that's broke? That's the common thread that I'm picking up.
And there is a plan for those people. I guess if you reply to Remington, they'll give you, if you choose to not have the trigger, they'll give you some sort of voucher for the future purchase of a Remington product. I don't know exactly if it's towards a Remington firearm, or if you could use that, in the Remington Pro Shop, or buy Remington magazines or something like that. I'm not exactly sure on the details. You'll have to visit the website for that.
Yeah.
I'm not a Remington owner.
The interesting thing is that they're actually going to go ahead and they're going to replace triggers that have been swapped out by the owners. So this is a pretty significant product defect, and for them to even go ahead and change out stuff that they themselves have changed to upgrade, that's a big stretch.
Well, with a conservative estimate of $25 million for this product, they're not calling it a recall. They're calling it I don't even know, an exchange, I guess. What are they exactly calling it?
No, I have from the Remington class action suit that was filed. Basically, what comes down. This is of course coming from CNBC. They're basically saying that it's more or less due to the nationwide settlement that they are going to go ahead and they're going to agree to replace the trigger. What they're estimating is 7.85 million rifles will require the service.
Holy cow!
Yeah, and they're not saying that it's not a recall. It's kind of like the Department of Defense saying we're not going to quarantine soldiers coming back from Africa, but they can't see their family for 3 weeks because they got to stay in a tent and be watched by medical personnel.
Right. It's all in the news speak.
Right. So you could call this a trigger quarantine.
Trigger. Remington has been stricken by trigger Ebola.
Yeah, that's it. They got the Ebola.
Soon your Remington will have bloody vomit and other unmentionable excrements.
Yeah. Ugh. So in addition to that, let's go on to.
Just let me stay on this Remington topic for just a second. Marlin, which is a product owned by Remington, there's my friend's story aside, there's been quite a few others, people who have spoken recently about Marlin, and specifically when it comes to the lever action Marlins, you're looking for the ones that have a stamp. It's JM on the left side of the barrel, very near the receiver. Those are the ones that are unaffected.
Right. Those are the good models.
Right. And that's what you want to keep an eyeball out for. I've seen pictures online of Remingtons where on a lever action rifle near where the hammer strikes, there's a piece of metal that sits inside the receiver. That piece of metal is not even or flush. It's actually sticking out. It's like it doesn't fit.
Yeah. Well, Remington is going to come out of pocket on this. Because like I said, they're already going to have to be in the kitty for having to do 7.85 million.
It's not only Remington. It's the problem extends to Freedom Group.
Well, yeah.
There's similar complaints with Paraordnance pistol since the takeover from Freedom Group. And interestingly enough, one of the guys who's the head of Freedom Group, I believe his name is Andy Schwarzman, he was also the guy who was at Kimber and SIG when both of their quality took a significant dive.
So he is a consultant.
He is a wrecker of gun companies.
Oh man, it's almost like by design.
He chases the dollar, and well, we all get the Pharaoh staff in the process. So
yeah. Well,
check it out.
When you look at, you're talking about the R51 recall. Remington was offer anybody who had purchased an R51, if they went ahead and returned it, they would also receive from Remington. They would receive a new R51 post repair, and then 2 additional magazines and a custom Pelican case. Anybody that's bought a Pelican case knows those are not cheap. So,
no, that's a fairly pricey. 2 magazines is sort of nice, and a Pelican case usually runs for a pistol about $49 to $75 somewhere in there.
Yeah, and if it's already pre-cut with the foam, you're probably looking at $100 to $150, depending upon.
Right. So let's just say $70. Let's just say $75 just to keep it in the at the upper end. That's quite a penalty they're paying as well on that one.
Right.
That's not cheap.
Yeah. So I mean, if anybody's out there in the business of manufacturing large quantities of firearms, listen to your engineers. don't let the accountants make the decisions.
Just follow the wisdom of Mr. John Moses Browning. Just make what he made. Make it exactly the same way he made it.
Right. So yeah, I mean, if you bought any of those models, make sure you get online. You can just even do simple searches for your model and type recall or type in class action, and you'll find plenty of information out there. Michael, I wanted to go ahead and kind of switch gears and get over towards our gun grabbing state of the week, and I would like to bestow that on New York State.
Once again to New York State. Tell them what they want, Chuck.
Okay, so in addition to being total and complete douchebags, after I believe it was Buffalo said that they wanted to go ahead and institute a portion of the SAFE Act that said that they were going to confiscate weapons from state residents who had passed away. The next nail in the coffin is that due to the SAFE Act, the New York State Police have flagged 278 gun owners who can potentially lose their weapons because they have been deemed mentally unstable, not necessarily having committed a crime. However, due to the shooting tragedy at Sandy Hook Elementary in neighboring Connecticut, when Governor Cuomo rammed the SAFE Act down the legislature in the middle of the night session, basically there's a state database with 38,000, almost 39,000 names of individuals who have been found to be at risk for owning guns because their psychiatrists and other health officials have forwarded their professional opinions to law enforcement, stating that these individuals are of a significant risk or pose a significant risk to the health and welfare of the general public.
That's fairly broad.
Yeah, and without due process, I might add.
No, due process. You mean like the Fourth Amendment you used to have?
Oh, yeah, because the only thing that really matters is the 14th Amendment now. And that
right.
Anybody that's born here gets to stay here regardless of where you came from. So yeah. Yeah. So anyhow, yeah, that's one of the things that New York is not only going to execute you for selling loose cigarettes because the state isn't going to get its tax money on that, but they're going to go ahead and take your firearms if you've ever seen a doctor because of any kind of mental condition you may have wanted to get some help for. So it's not incumbent upon you to look for help.
This mental condition could be something as simple as marriage counseling. Is that correct?
Yeah, it could be anything. It could be.
Or could it be
you had some kind of difficulty in your life, and you wanted to speak to a mental health professional. It could have been even mediation from work, where you went ahead and talked to a mediator about maybe some conflict resolution, maybe something,
work stress, something like
work
that.
stress, and you needed to get something in terms of being able to get some time away to clear stuff up.
Say your job it gave you some stomach ills, and your primary care physician, who is not a psychiatrist, referred you to his, or gave you a brain candy, not necessarily even bringing the psychologist into this or the psychiatrist into this. Gave you some sort of like Prozac or Celexa or Zoloft or pick your poison.
Yeah.
Does this apply to that?
Well, I'm not exactly attuned with the SAFE Act. It will say that there is a database in New York State now because of the SAFE Act, and they're looking at, I said, basically the rough number of names is about 20 million across the state.
That's one that just say everybody.
Well, and you've got folks that basically say it only takes one firearm owner to wreak havoc and mayhem and create tragedies if they have access to a firearm. Well, yeah, that's if you follow the Michael Bloomberg Mayors Against Illegal Guns mantra, but we look past and we blow past the root cause of the issue is that we have a horrible record of dealing with mental health in the country, and we push those people aside, and we don't get them the help they need.
Not only do we push them aside, but we push them to big pharma.
Yeah.
If you've got issues in your life, whatever, we're not going to talk about it. That actually takes man hours. We're going to send you to the pharmacy, and your insurance is going to pay $78 for a bottle of something that is made in a laboratory in India or in China for
pennies on the dollar.
The equivalent of $6, and you're between the pharmacy and your insurance company. They're splitting this gigantic profit.
Right.
That's where the problem lies.
So yeah, I mean, there's New York is it's a tough place for folks who own firearms to live. For the longest time, you couldn't own a firearm in New York City. And some of the other localities made it very difficult to be able to purchase a firearm. You've got to really look if you're in a state that has legislators that are attempting to push late night gun control resolutions. I mean, you really have to do your civic part to stop them. So, Michael, one of the other things we brought up was Beloit, Wisconsin.
Yeah. Hey, Nick, did you, by the way, let me just touch on New York City. You know that the founder of New York City gun control, Tim Sullivan, the architect of the Sullivan Act in 1911, do you know he died insane of syphilis?
Oh, wow.
So, and that may have contributed to some of the decisions made. Just an aside.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, he was
handy little fact. If you're ever playing Trivial Pursuit and the subject of gun control and syphilis comes up,
which it may. So yeah, we wanted to talk about Beloit, Wisconsin. I believe you've got the lead in on that.
Yeah, the sheriff in Beloit, Wisconsin, has made an appeal to firearms owners, appealing to let the sheriff's department check people's homes for firearms, and just to find out if you may have a gun in your home that was committed in a crime. You may have a toy gun that has had the orange cap removed or is no longer in the joyous appearance of a Nerf gun. You may have some crack in your house. You may have some other thing that they deem socially responsible. And it's time to look at guns as we do Ebola, and we should look to our health professionals for the lead.
Is that?
That's the basic quote of what he said. Minus the crack and the other part, but yeah, he compared people having guns in their home to Ebola, which I would definitely say he's absolutely correct. The fear of people having guns in their home is just like Ebola. It's all hype. It's all hype.
I shake my head. I shake my head because it's crazy. I think it was the right at the height of the protests for the non-verdict against officer in St. Louis. I think I saw the chief of police of Milwaukee basically getting a dressing down from a reporter talking about how black lives don't matter, and he just unloaded, just gave them the stats, and he said, you know what, you can deal with your emotions, and you can deal with your falsehoods. I'm going to give you the facts, and the fact of the matter is that the bulk of firearms violence occurs by black on black in his community. And that was not what the reporters wanted to hear.
No. Sometimes the facts are not only racist, they're anti-Semitic, they are just uncomfortable.
Sure.
Another issue with this sheriff in Beloit, Wisconsin, this man's a public servant. The sheriff is an elected position in pretty much every county across the nation. Does he not see the issue with overstepping his mandate?
His authority, yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, this is near. Beyond revolting. I mean, this is the kind of power grab that in other nations has caused tanks to roll in the street.
Yeah, and this would be Police Chief Norm Jacobs. So if you're out there, Norm, you're doing the wrong thing.
Yeah, people do not agree with you, Norm.
Yeah, and I mean, first off, using Ebola as a reference, and I just
that's just the funniest thing in the world. What else are guns in the home assisting ISIS? I mean, did guns in the home also put like razors in Halloween candy?
Yeah.
I mean,
are they responsible for nationwide recall of Peeps at Easter?
Come on now, we have to get to the real issues. Meat of the
think
matter.
of the children.
Oh my Lord! Oh, all right, whatever. This guy's a scumbag. Let him be.
Yeah, I mean, and the idea that they'll find a toy gun that has been altered by a youngster in the house. Well, you don't have to. When you take a look at most firearms now, especially handguns, most of those are polymer, which is probably 85% the same as an airsoft pistol, which is legally purchased and doesn't have
some of the replica airsoft guns have metal slides if it's a replica of a Glock. Some of the metal airsoft pistols are all metal.
Right.
I've seen replicas of Browning high powers that are airsoft that are spot on.
Right. So at what point he says up front he doesn't expect the phones to be ringing off the hook. Well, I'll go you one better, Chief Jacobs. I don't expect you're going to get any calls except for, the 85-year-old woman who believes that the pistol her widow left to her is somehow going to reassemble itself and come stalking her in the night.
That the Raven 25 that's been sitting loaded in the bureau drawer since 1986 is going to pop up, and well, we can only imagine the carnage.
Yeah, some people I feel for them and their choice of living arrangements and the locations that they've chosen. First bit, anybody that lives in Tornado Alley. If you live there more than one tornado season, okay, you're looking for it. Anybody that continues to live in
Tornado Alley, you better live in a poured concrete home.
Well, yeah, but then you look at people like in Buffalo, where they're going to come after your firearms after you've dead. After you've died.
And then probably not only that, they're probably going to come in some sort of snowstorm that's got 4 feet of snow on the ground.
Yeah. So you pick your town. You pick your town across the country, and you'll see where individual right to own firearms, which has been affirmed by the Supreme Court, is being infringed upon every day. And I hear it. I see it on T-shirts. I see it on billboards. Is what part of shall not be infringed don't you understand?
Do you have access to that picture that I sent you, the bacon and eggs, the breakfast picture?
Yeah, I think I'll have to look for that one again.
If you could bring that up, that I think that would be actually perfect. I don't believe I can access that right now. I think that really kind of like puts the argument to rest right there. If with the simple changing of a few words in it, and they're equal exchanges at a literary level.
Yeah.
So, would you mind taking a look for it? Because I think it actually says it perfectly.
Yeah, let me see if I can. I'll have to find it as we chat along.
All right, because words do have meaning, and I mean something else along with the proliferation of idiocy that's out there. We're seeing a destruction of the language, and I mean this has been foretold in many books, and I mean some reading that was from high school level is no longer required anymore. I mean, it's just too damn hard. A good friend of mine and Timmy were talking in the past couple of days, and his child goes to a private school. Public schools aren't what they used to be, and his child's learning how to write. She's in kindergarten, and I was asking about cursive, and the kids in the private school are learning cursive, and the kids in the public school are not. And that just kind of struck me that in 20 years she's going to be the kid who can speak Latin, and the rest of the kids can't. She can cipher.
Yeah, which all just leaves her up to getting a good job with the NSA.
Right. She can figure out the squiggle languages.
Yeah. I tell you what, it's amazing what the people will accept under the guise of, safety and the safety of their children and the willingness to give up individual liberties just because of the convenience.
Well, Benjamin Franklin's quote about those who will sacrifice freedom for essential liberties for safety shall get neither.
Yeah, or deserve neither, I believe it was.
Or deserve neither. That's exactly what it is.
So I think my gun idiot state of the week in New York.
Well, Wisconsin's running that boy in Beloit. He put on the turbo boost there for that one.
Yeah, he's trying to get the honorable mention.
I just think that's just on the disgusting level.
Yeah.
So
I wanted to go ahead and give you an update. I went out for a hunt on Sunday morning, and I tell you what, I am a big fan of slug shotguns or slug firing shotguns in the semi-auto variety.
They are fairly nice. A good slug barrel with some rifled sights make all the difference in a shotgun.
Yeah, and if you go ahead and you put a shotgun scope on it or a slug gun scope, you will be in business. I was fortunate enough to borrow a 20 gauge Browning semi-automatic that was shooting Barnes slugs, and I'll tell you what. Had there been deer in the area, they wouldn't have been there for very long.
Okay, so let's talk about this Browning shotgun a little bit. Give us the skinny on this.
Okay, so it was, I believe it was called a Browning Legacy, and
that already sounds pricey.
Yeah.
That already put it in the $900 range.
Yeah, it was very, very, very nice. It wasn't like it was wasn't like an Auto 5 where you had the big humpback, but it was as good a shotgun as I've seen. And like I said, it was a semi-auto, and wow, what can you really say? You're 20 gauge, so it's not going to break your shoulders, and you're able to fire it, continuously. So had a nice scope on top, and I think I had it set at 3 times magnification. I felt real comfortable, putting it to my shoulder. I took a couple swings, just looking across the top of the shotgun, and then getting my eyes trained to look through it, and it was very natural to me. So I think that in the near future, if I decide to do any kind of training, that may be on my short list of new firearms to pick up. Maybe not necessarily a Browning, because I've had my fits with Browning's service in their overseas department for warranty repair, but based on what I saw the other day, I may be willing to give them another look in the shotgun department.
I've always been a fan of Browning products, especially the high power is just the ultimate in pistols. I'm sorry, I know it's been eclipsed and it's old fashioned and whatever. It's not only a good functional piece; it's a work of art in my opinion.
Right.
It's a machine that just won't quit with the proper care, just like anything else. I mean, it's, in my opinion, it would be equivalent to a very, very nice older Mercedes,
Okay.
So I've got no issue with the Browning products. I know that you've had an issue with it, but in all actuality, you had an issue with their customer service and with wood, which will fail. It shouldn't have failed. I totally agree that your situation, but the actual functionality of the rifle was still there.
Right. And that's one of the things that I think people got to take into consideration when they're doing their research about what firearm to purchase, because it's not just something that you're going to walk away from the store with. I mean, you've got to have the confidence that if something goes wrong, that you can go ahead and take it back and get your satisfaction out of it, whether it be getting the product repaired or them doing the right thing and taking that product back off your hands and compensating you for it. So I didn't have good luck with that in terms of the Browning X-Bolt that I purchased overseas, and ended up having to pay to get a synthetic stock put on because there was basically a product defect in the manufacturing where the magazine well joins up with the stock, and the wood was very thin, and it basically fractured, and it could have been a potentially dangerous situation. But you got somebody who says, I don't want to pay for that.
That's just, to me, that's a problem.
Yeah,
that's a serious problem. That's a lapse in just customer confidence right there. And
right,
I don't know.
So
I really don't know.
Yeah, if you can get yourself a Browning Auto 5 or get yourself a nice older Browning, you may be able to save a little bit of money. You may end up getting one that's been really well taken care of, and you end up spending a little more. But I'll tell you what, you put a 20 gauge slug on a deer, and he's not going to go very, very far.
No, that's a downer right there.
Yeah, and if you so desire to use something like that for home defense, whatever you hit with that is not going to go very far either.
Right. That's probably got a barrel that's just a little uncomfortable and unwieldy for home defense, I would imagine.
Depends on how wide your hallways are and how long they are.
That's true. I've got a friend with an older 870 that got a super full turkey choke on it, and I'll tell you what, he can make birdshot do the damage of buckshot at about 20 yards.
Yeah,
which is just fairly amazing. Fairly amazing. I don't believe that would work with the slug or anything, but it works wonders. I bet you if you were to use number 4 turkey shot with that super full turkey choke, I think you would just be putting down.
Yeah, whoever gets in your way would not be there for very long.
I believe that would be massive devastation.
Yeah. So I mean that's one of the interesting things that I got to do. Unfortunately, we didn't see any deer, but there's always next week, and next week I will be going and participating in a hunt on a local property. I'll say local, being generous, about an hour and a half away. But it's a group that takes care of military folks and is just saying thank you. So. I want to say a big thank you to Operation Dues Already Paid.
That's very nice. Thank you, guys. They got a website. You want to drop it out there?
They're on Facebook, so you can just go ahead and type in Operation Dues Already Paid, and like them or do whatever people do on Facebook. I'm not a Facebook guy, so.
You choose to not participate in Operation Facebook?
I certainly do not participate in Operation Voluntarily Give Away Your Information.
That's the CIA's most profitable operation to date.
Certainly, because...
next to opium farming and all that.
Well, you mean that half of the United States is going to voluntarily tell you what they do every minute of every day and give you an up-to-date photo, complete with duck lips, for absolutely nothing?
Nick, I would, but first, let me take a selfie.
Exactly. So, oh my goodness. Anybody that's listened to that Chainsmokers song will know exactly what you're talking about.
That's so horrible. But first, let me take a selfie. Yeah, That's a brainworm song.
Yeah, that will probably be the only thing that they ever make worth radio time.
I don't believe they'll do anything ever again.
Yeah, they don't have to. It was once you get David Hasselhoff in a video, you pretty much you've done it all.
Is David Hasselhoff in the video?
Certainly.
Oh, that's just horrible. I heard the song. I've not seen the video. I don't have time. I don't have the patience for that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, save yourself a couple minutes. Invest that in going to your local store and picking up some ammunition.
I'll tell you what, local store update. Let's just go straight to the 22 long rifle. My local big box at Walmart was sold out in both locations I looked. Academy, which is our big box, had probably the equivalent of 10 cases of Aguila 22 long rifle, hyper velocity, super velocity, and magnum velocity, or not magnum velocity, mega velocity, I believe is what they call their super fast, ultra, hyper, whatever. They had that, and their limit is 3 boxes. Yeah. So it is still behind the counter, but they were well stocked in everything else. They had a metal rolling cart out that must have had at least 200 boxes of 45, 40, 38, 9mm, 380, the 100-round value packs of Winchester White Box. So, I mean, it looks like it's back 5.56223. Appears to be between 35 and 50 cents a round, depending on what you want.
They've been pretty stable for the last couple of weeks, I think.
Price good stuff is still $150 a round. In basically any caliber you want. I did see online you can find on a fairly regular basis you can find 22 long rifle for 8 cents. If you're kind of quick on the switch and you know where you're looking, you can find it for as low as 5 cents a round.
Right.
Most of the time, it's between 8 and 15 cents. So,
I just think that you find the one place where you can pick up ammunition, and you go back and you go back. I actually did see at Walmart in my area that they actually put up the signs for 22 long rifles saying that you are limited to 3 boxes per customer. However, they have nothing on the shelf.
Right, and that's the exact same thing that they have. They must have a master Walmart template for that.
Yeah, and I asked, like I said, I asked a different associate. This was just after the Thanksgiving rush. And I said, hey, what kind of crowds did you have in here? Specifically in the sporting goods section. Were people coming in looking to buy firearms? Were they looking to buy ammo? And, the associate just kind of deadpan is like, no, it's the same old guys. These same 65-year-olds that are buying every bit of 22 they can get. And they're there like clockwork. So, they're selling it. It's there, but it doesn't stay for very long.
Well, I do see people buying it online still, so, and there hasn't really been as much backlash as before, but I mean, it is in stores, but you're just like you said, you're limited to 3 boxes, and, that's 300 rounds on a good day if you're able to come up with 100-round box or something, but most of the time it's 50-round boxes.
Yeah.
I went out the other day with my buddy Jimmy, and I took 200 rounds, and that was just what I had sitting around. So I mean, 150 rounds. I don't know who that works for.
Yeah,
that doesn't work for me. Not 22 at least.
Well, I mean, if you got a local shooting spot, you can get there pretty quickly. In my area, we don't have that. I believe that the county where I live has been, I think they called it the least business friendly in the entire state. So that kind of tells you something.
Well, you should just invoke the Biden clause and step off your balcony and take your double-barrel shotgun and fire a 2-quick blast off.
Yeah, that would put you in violation of local firearms ordinance. Discharging a firearm in the city limits.
The vice president said it was okay.
Yeah, but he's not a legislator. He used to be, but not anymore.
Yeah, but he's on TV a lot.
Well, then if that's the case, we got to listen to what Al Sharpton says,
that
guy's on TV all the time.
I can't read the Constitution since it's in cursive now.
Yeah.
So whatever, your legislation and amendments, he's on TV.
Yeah.
He said it was okay.
Well, and that's the other thing. I haven't seen a stretch. I think here in my state, there's going to be a couple different pushes to enact some additional gun control related bills through the General Assembly. I don't think that they have any chance of passing. But it's interesting that it's you go through the election cycle. And the politicians, they keep coming back to the same thing that they hope is going to get their bases out to vote. And from the left, it's all about health care right now. It's all about reparations for victims of police brutality. And you got to figure it was only 2001 when the New York City Police Department was looked at as America's police department. I'm going to tell you what. In the last 10 years, New York City Police Department has paid out over $500 million with a B Bravo, $500 million in lawsuit payments. They are no longer America's police force. They are like the legal department's police force. Right. Yeah. So
when you fire 71 shots at a suspect and you hit him 4 times, you don't actually even put him down with the 4 shots that are hit. You don't have well-trained officers, or you got a serious problem with your policy and procedures.
Yeah. Well, I seem to think that across the country, there's the big push now to have the law enforcement officers wearing the body cameras, whether it be a GoPro or some other manufacturer.
Seattle said that the officers can't do it because it would take up too much data.
Oh, okay. Because I would figure they would say something like, "Oh, we can't do it because we're going to catch too many people committing crimes." That's what I would expect. That's what I would expect people to say.
I think the too much data argument just goes over a little bit easier.
Yeah,
I think that's
just tell them it'll eat up bandwidth. People up there they'll understand.
Can't have that. I can't stream cats on YouTube then.
Yeah. So, oh my goodness. So, Michael, why don't we go ahead and hit up the 4 rules of firearm safety?
All right, Nick. First rule, the most important rule for this round, is every firearm is loaded until you physically and visually inspect and verify that it is not loaded. So, open it up, check it out. Rule number 2. Don't point the muzzle at anything you don't wish to destroy. Be mindful of where that is pointed in all times. Rule number 3, know what your target is and know what is beyond your target. Don't pop a dude in a canoe thinking it's a deer. Make sure it's a deer. The fourth and most important rule, absolutely the most important rule, is please keep your booger hook off the bang switch. You cannot have a negligent discharge if your finger is not on the trigger. Unless it's a Remington rifle, apparently.
Yeah, there you go. Or shotgun.
Or a shotgun. So please keep your finger off the trigger until you are ready to discharge the weapon. That's pretty much the focus here. And if you get anything from this, please take that one to heart.
Yeah. And not only that, but make sure that you're teaching the proper care and safe handling of firearms to the younger generations. One of the ways that we can continue to ensure that we have the right to purchase and own firearms is that we get our younger generations interested in owning them and respecting them and treating them as the tools that they are, instead of allowing them to be fearful of them for things that could happen in a bad, situation somewhere. The fear is out there. That's how half of the information is being marketed to people across our country. Just fear sells, and you have to look no farther than conservative radio to hear about what you should be doing to buy any commodity because the government is going to collapse.
So, hey, and don't ever be afraid to use shame as part of it. If you see some flat bill out there with his finger on the trigger, if you have to speak his language, yo, dog, get your finger off the trigger. Don't be afraid to embarrass somebody at that point. Especially if you're in someplace public.
Yeah.
I think people will appreciate that. So,
I think that the fact that, everybody goes ahead and makes sure that they're demonstrating the proper handling procedures and instructs those around them, we're going to see decreased incidents of needless negligent discharges. And
not only that, the way that if you confront the man generally it's a male, if you confront the person who is performing these unsafe actions, how they respond is a good indicator of whether or not you want to conduct business with this fellow.
Exactly.
So
yeah, I tell you what, if you've got police chiefs across the country telling their residents to buy firearms, Christmas is getting ready to ramp up. We may not see the type of sales that we saw at the end of November, but they'll pop up here pretty soon. And take the opportunity to go ahead and go out and look at purchasing a firearm for yourself or for a loved one, and who knows, maybe go ahead and buy in on the concealed carry course that may be available in your location, or just even a armed safety course at a local shooting range if it's available.
I see. Even if you don't get the CCW license, I say it's worth every penny you spend on taking that course. You learn something. Everybody learns something. Even if you've taken it before, things you can brush up on. And it's nice to get a little bit of range time with other people.
Yeah, certainly. And not only that, you become more intimately familiar with your firearm, and you also get a lesson in how the lexicon is. You learn some terminology. You'll learn what basically goes on in different places, like a firearms range, at the counter speak to say, dealing with the folks on the other end of the till, and you'll kind of see how different it is versus what goes on in the news, talking about gun running scandals and unscrupulous firearms dealers just selling guns to anyone.
I can't just stress enough to be sure of who you're doing business with. If they've got, if you're using some sort of social media to hook up with this person that you're going to do business with, take a look at their profile. If they're pointing their Glock Photo high point at the camera sideways with a mask covering their face and their finger on the trigger, man, I don't want to do business with this guy.
Yeah, certainly.
If they've got incriminating posts like that are threatening, I've seen it several times. Somebody. All my hate is I'm going to spray you with my photo and draw chalk outlines. And so, well, yeah, dude, I'm totally going to sell you a shotgun.
Yeah. Well, Michael, we're about out of time. I want to say thanks to Jules. I want to go ahead and basically say thanks to our listeners on UCY.tv. I want to say thanks to my buddy Chris, keeping it locked down there in Georgia, the good firearms owning state that is. And Michael, thanks to you.
Nick, thanks a lot, Nick. I appreciate it. Thanks to UCY.tv. Everybody stick around. We're on UCY.tv. We have all things apocalyptic are up after this. So get yourself a gun. Get yourself some ammo, too. Get yourself some training. Go out and have some fun. Take care, people.